Attachment avoidance is theorized to arise from experiences in which people have consistently been unresponsive.
Yeah.
So rather than sometimes getting love and sometimes not, people who are high in attachment avoidance feel or perceive that others have never been there, or mostly are neglectful and not there. When I'm distressed, when I need people, that's when they're not there. I can't count on them. They're going to respond with anger, or they're going to just withdraw and neglect and leave me. Be dismissive. And so going back to thinking about the attachment system as an adaptive one, what's the adaptive response when other people are neglectful and you know you can't get your needs met?
And you don't ask for them then.
You don't ask for them.
There's that level of avoidance, there's that level of detachment where you're I guess you'd either shut down your needs because you think that it's not important to have them met, or you kind of just extreme self-soothing where you're I am the only person who can support me because I can't count on anyone.
And that's exactly right. So Bowlby was particularly interested in attachment avoidance because his theory arose from trying to understand how children who'd been in severe neglect had such problematic regulation systems. So, for example, this is the language at the time, were in juvenile detentions, right? Yeah. And it was really linked to having extremely poor relationships with parents, or being neglected as children, being abused as children. And so he really theorized that attachment avoidance is a functional response when your environment is almost certainly going to let you down. And if that is the case, then you should become self-sufficient, just like you said. You shouldn't count on other people. You shouldn't trust other people because they're going to hurt you in the end. And therefore, you should suppress your attachment needs, that need for connection, and you should just rely on yourself. And so this is what we think of as the category of attachment avoidance, or dismissive avoidance, sometimes it's called. This characterization of a person who doesn't want anybody, doesn't need anybody, is only going to count on themselves. And when people want to have relationships with them or need something from them, they become angry and they push others away. In adult relationships, for example, you're not just the person that you're having a relationship with isn't just your attachment figure. You're also the attachment figure for that person, right?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. And so for people who are high in attachment avoidance, and I say higher in avoidance, right? The more avoidant you are, the more likely you are to believe that you can't trust and rely on other people. That means you hold your emotions close to your chest. You're more likely to suppress your emotions. You don't disclose as much. You don't want to be as intimate or close as other people often want to be with you. And you don't seek support, and you try to be self-reliant. And when something goes wrong, you withdraw and you push away and you distance. And so it's very hard to have a relationship with somebody who's not there. But the other thing about people who are high in attachment avoidance is when their partner is upset, when their partner needs support, when their partner needs care, people who are high in attachment avoidance are more likely to see that as kind of intentionally manipulative, right, and trying to ask more for what they should be expected to provide, and that same kind of withdrawal and distancing and anger is likely to arise.
So it's not just suppressing the need to have, I guess, your needs met, but also not being able to provide or gauge why other people would need things because you've learned to suppress that?
Yes, that's right. Yes. And, and again, there's good reasons why people would be like that if they are environments in which they really shouldn't trust other people to be there for them. And it is more adaptive then to be self-sufficient.
One thing I found interesting in one of your papers that I was reading was when you talked about people that are not that they are, but they are high in attachment anxiety. Yeah.
Yes.
And you looked at their perceptions of their past relationships. And what I think that paper found was that people who were higher in attachment anxiety tended to recall their past relationships more accurately, but they also remembered them more negatively than they actually were.
Yes.
Because, and if I'm recalling this correctly, it was because they were always on high alert and looking for threats that potentially might not have been there. So as a whole, they remembered the relationship quite clearly, but that those memories were sort of focused on the negative more than the positive.
Yeah, so one of the things that attachment insecurity does is it really hooks you in to try to find cues in the environment that signal what you fear the most. For people who are high in attachment anxiety, they're on the lookout for any signs that they'll be rejected or that their relationship is not going well, because even when they're happy and they love their partner or their family member or whatever relationship we're talking about, even in those positive conditions, they don't really feel settled. Their attachment system isn't really turned off because they can't just calm and believe fully that the other person will always be there. And so they're really vigilant for cues that something bad is going to happen to their relationship. And that means that they're more likely to detect when things go wrong. They're more likely to detect that their partner isn't that satisfied today. They're more likely to detect that their partner's in a bad mood. They're more likely to detect that their partner is, finds somebody else attractive. And so you find that they're accurate in tracking these different conditions of the relationship. But what that also means is that when they do see these real relationship events that are important, they also exaggerate the meaning and significance of those events. So a partner's bad mood becomes more negative and more about the relationship than it really is.
Yeah.
A partner's natural notice of somebody that's attractive becomes the partner wants to be unfaithful.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating. But in general, what's happening is anxious people are seeing the world in line with the beliefs and expectations they already have. And that means that they have biases.
It's like kind of like confirmation bias, where you see what you want to see.
Absolutely. So both anxiety and avoidance are associated with these biased perceptions, and that then fuels back in terms of their insecurity. So for people who are high in attachment anxiety, they're more likely to perceive their partner as dissatisfied. When they're having conflict with their partner, they're more likely to see their partner's negative emotions. They're more likely to think that conflict means that their relationship is doomed. That means they behave in these kind of negative ways. They behave in disproportionate ways, and this damages their relationships and relationship satisfaction, which fuels their insecurities.
Yeah, cyclical.
Yeah, and people who are high in attachment avoidance, they are on the lookout for other things. They're on the lookout that their partner is being intentionally manipulative, or that their partner is asking them for too much, or that their partner's upset with them because they're oriented towards signs that they really can't trust that their partner is really there or is the kind of partner they want or want to be. And so this tends to increase the degree to which they distance and withdraw, which makes their partner want something more from them or express their negative emotions, which can create these dynamics which damage relationship satisfaction and, of course, confirm for avoidant people or people high in attachment avoidance that they really can't trust their partners.
You can look us up on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, wherever it is that you doom scroll your life away. And if you want to see more of me, you can head to Instagram at Goddess by Night.